Hi guys, welcome to another episode. In the previous episode, I was talking about the Xiaomi soundbar and I was looking for it because of this 3.5mm auxiliary input. And I was looking around at all the wireless speakers I have at home and they don't have this input. So I went on to buy the Xiaomi soundbar to get some sound out of the PC without AirPlay or AirPlay 2. Subsequently, I started digging around and I found my SoundLink Mini. So I did a comparison video between the Xiaomi soundbar, which is very new, against the Bose SoundLink Mini. This is version 1. This was launched many years ago, I think 2013. So it actually compared favorably against the SoundLink Mini, which is costing like $200 at launch, versus the Xiaomi soundbar, which you can get for a very low tens of dollars. Subsequently, I also got itchy and I went to look at this Blitzwoof. So I realized that Blitzwoof has got quite a wow, and it just turned off automatically. It's got quite a following online, especially on Banggood.com, where you can buy all these speakers. When I did the review on the Xiaomi soundbar, Banggood actually got in touch with me and said, hey, this is a affiliate marketing code, which I posted on the previous video, where if my viewers are interested, you can click through and I can make a small commission on that review. Subsequently, they sent me this Blitzwoof AS2. This is a Bluetooth speaker, which is supposed to compare quite favorably against the Bose SoundLink Mini. So these are both battery driven. If you look at the Xiaomi soundbar, it is AC powered, so you can't actually bring it around. That's more for a TV soundbar. This, you can actually bring it out, charge it up, and it can bring it out. I'll talk a little bit more about this, but before that, instead of doing a direct comparison between these two, I dug out yet another speaker. Yes, and this is the Sony SRS X5. Came from a couple of years ago. If you are interested in this review, this comparison video, please stay on and I'll go through it with you. So for those of you who have been to my channel quite a bit, I do a lot of audiophile, wireless audiophile products, and while these are on the really much lower end of the market, I don't think everybody needs a Sonos or a Bose system. And sometimes you just want to get sound out. Sometimes you want to bring sound around and out of the door. Oh, and that's the Sonos Roam. But never mind, another topic, another day. For those of you who are interested, I've attended the press conference for that release, that launch of the Sonos Roam. If you are interested in that, do stay subscribed. Click the notification bell, and as soon as I drop the video, you will be notified. But today, let's take a look at this Blitzwoof speaker here. This is the Blitzwoof AS2. Let me switch the camera view. So this is the Blitzwoof AS2. It is a relatively compact camera. Let me get things out of the way so you can have a better look. It's relatively compact. I have quite large hands, so if you compare the size, this is about probably about 7 inches or almost touching 8 inches across, but otherwise that's the size. Oh, I didn't want to compare the SoundLink Mini, so today this is the Sony SRS X5. So in terms of size comparison, and oh, actually take a look, they almost stack up to be similar heights and width. Now the Sony SRS X5, it stands upright. The drivers are in the front. There's a mid-range driver here. If you catch the light, you might be able to see it. Two tweeters here. And at the back, there are two passive base radiator. You might just be able to make it out here. Okay, whereas the Blitzwoof is supposed to be orientated horizontally. There is a base driver here, from what I have seen, a rather high excursion base drivers. And here you have the forward firing mid-range drivers. Otherwise, the passive radiators are to the sides. These aren't like the JBLs where they pulsate, and so they are quite fixed. But inside, behind the vents here, you will see that there are base radiators. It does help to create a much larger soundstage than the size of this speaker indicates. Now there are some buttons here. I'm just going to power it on. I will do some testing. I'll do the frequency sweep so that you can tell the difference between the sound output between the Blitzwoof AS2 as well as the Sony SRS X5. I'll call it the X5 for short, and this is the AS2. Okay, so all the buttons here are tactile buttons, all clickable. I'm going to turn it on, press and hold, and it comes on. it will search for a Bluetooth device if it is not being connected, and it sounds off that. You don't connect, it's fine, because there are other connections. I'll go to the back of the panel in a bit. The first button here, there's a plus sign. Second button here, there is a minus sign. So volume up, volume down. And it actually serves as forward and skip, rewind as well. It's not very intuitive. So if you're connected to your phone, for example, and you want to increase the volume, you actually got to press and hold. If you just click one time, it will forward to the next song. Similarly, for decreased volume, you got to click and hold. If you just click one time, it will reverse. The play pause actually works as play and pause. So quite intuitive there. You will notice a phone icon here. This Bluetooth speaker here, this Blitzwolf AS2, actually implements a telephony profile, meaning to say you can actually hold a conference call. There's a mic built in here that it will pick up your voice and as well as play back the sound from your phone when you click this button here to receive or to drop a call. This is the mode button. It is now flashing blue, meaning to say waiting for Bluetooth pairing. When you're paired up, the mode in Bluetooth, it will be a constant blue LED light, which means you're connected via Bluetooth. Otherwise, there is a connection at the rear, which is an auxiliary connection. I'll talk about this auxiliary connection. This is what set me on this whole path of looking for a simple connection to my PC. Sound output from the PC, 3.5 input, plug it in, and that's it. Sound comes through. And that's all you need to do. No pairing, no choosing of profile, plug it in and sound comes out. Most PCs don't come with a speaker built in. So this is what this offers the convenience of plugging in any form of PC or laptop, and you can get the sound out from the machine just like that. It has also a micro SD slot. This micro SD slot actually allows you to put MP3 files or any kind of files. You plug it in and you will be able to play the sound from that. I have not tried that. I think the most convenient way of putting sound to this speaker is via the auxiliary 3.5mm input rather, or via Bluetooth. Now, one thing to take note of is this Type-C. Oh yeah, the moment you take it out, it will start trying to pair. And if the PC is nearby, it will then pair quite seamlessly. The pairing of the Bluetooth on the AS2 is actually pretty easy. Now back to the Type-C. In a previous 2018 release, the Blitzwolf AS2 actually comes with a micro USB port, which allows you to charge. So it takes about 5 to 6 hours to charge it up if you are going through a micro USB port charging, or it actually has a what you call a proprietary jack, a DC in. I'm going to put the picture maybe here so you can take a look. Yes, if you look at that, you can actually use their proprietary charger to actually power and charge this AS2. But you know, this is 2021 now. The version that you're going to get when you buy this Blitzwolf AS2 today, you're going to get Type-C. Type-C charging, right? So the convenience of charging this AS2 using Type-C is ubiquitous. I mean, Type-C is already quite ubiquitous. It is very convenient. You don't have to be stuck with a specific charger. Which brings me to the Sony SRS X5. Now, if you look at the X5, there is a proprietary charger, which I'm going to put up here. All right, it's not even the regular 12 volt or 5 volt, it's 12.5 volt. Not only that, the pin out is actually pretty different. So you've got to keep this charger, right? If you lose this guy or if this is busted, there's no way you can charge this guy anymore, right? So that's the only way you're going to be able to power the Sony SRS X5. It also has an auxiliary input, which means to say you are able to plug in this 3.5mm and get sound through. Otherwise, it's an aptX Bluetooth standard. Now, it also has a call function. If you look here, right, there's a call button. Now, these two buttons are actually tactile physical button. The rest are all touch sensitive, and I don't quite like that. There's not much feedback, so I don't know. There's a small LED that flashes and blinks when you every time you click the button. But otherwise, I don't really like this kind of buttons. you can choose to pair or connect a Bluetooth device to this speaker, and you can play via Bluetooth, or there is an audio in, which means to say you're activating this port for playback. Sound changes, some sound EQ. I am actually not very sure what it does anymore. I don't ever use this, but well, this is what it is. It changes the sound. It's supposed to improve the sound. And finally, this is an NFC capable speaker. That means to say if you have a compatible Bluetooth Android device, you can just tap it and it will start the pairing process automatically. Now, one thing to note, which is not available on the Blitzwolf AS2, is this DC out. This DC out is a full-size USB-A output, which allows you to connect a device to charge your external phone or anything that you might be playing music to. This device itself probably is good for about 8 hours of play at moderate volumes, but if your phone is going to run out of battery before then you can use this to charge the phone so that it can still keep sending music to the speaker. I don't really use this. I've owned this speaker for maybe a good 5, 6, 7 years, in fact. So it's not something that I use very often. So you can see the similarities between these two speakers. Now, there's one huge difference between the two, and that is price. At launch, this speaker was costing somewhere around, maybe I can't really remember, about $150 or $200. Now, this is not funny, right? Because this is some serious money that you're going to be putting down on Bluetooth speakers. Of late, I think within the last 2 or maybe 3 years, you've got the Chinese manufacturers coming out with brands like Blitzwolf, Xiaomi, and quite a few others. And they're putting out Bluetooth speakers like there's no tomorrow, right? And the prices are actually insanely good. The prices are so good, instead of just competing on features, based on price alone, that could actually give you the advantage and the leg up in terms of a choice between a speaker like the AS2 or the Sony X5. Granted, they are from different periods, but the question I'm going to ask today is that, is this $50 speaker going to be able to match up to the $200 at launch Sony X5? Now, the only way to find out in this particular case is to run through a series of frequency tests. Now, I do a lot of frequency tests. Those of you who are familiar with my channel, you'll know that, instead of telling you what I feel, what I hear, what I think, I actually run through a series of frequency sweeps so that when the sounds are played back via the speakers, I actually measure them with a professional, this is a mini DSP UMIC 1 USB mic, which picks up the sound and analyzes the sound from the speakers. So it draws up a curve and you understand how actually it sounds by looking at the curve. Now, I will also do that today, and we'll find out the answer of whether the Blitzwolf is better than the Sony or, vice versa, and what has 7 years in between the two speakers done to the sound. Now, let's find out now. Okay, so from this view, you'll be able to see where my mic is set up. This mic is here, and I'm going to put the speaker at about just over an arm, a hand span away. So this is about 8 inches. Now, at this speaker size, the distance and the placement is going to make a huge difference. Okay, so I just want to be careful that we are measuring like for like. The orientation of the Sony as well as the Blitzwolf is going to be different. This is vertical. The two drivers are firing right up front. The bass radiators are at the back. For the Blitzwolf, the two speakers are going to be firing here. The bass driver is right at the top, and you have the bass radiators at the side firing sideways for a slightly larger sound stage. Now, you will be able to see all the frequency response. What happens is that it will throw out some frequency response. Now, this chart at the left here, it will throw out all the frequency response from 20 Hertz all the way to 2000 Hertz, so that every time each tone plays, the mic picks it up and tries to measure the levels that it is able to pick up, the speaker is able to reproduce. Now, without further ado, let's try this on the Sony SRX X5 first. All right, plug in, and this is via a 3.5 mm input jack. I'm going to switch it audio in, Again, make sure the distance is just over my hand span away. So this is about 8 to 8.5 inches, all right? So over here, we will measure it. Okay, so as stated, 20 hertz all the way to 20,000 hertz. Okay, we got to keep quiet, not affect anything here. Headroom of 18.4 decibels. That means to say there's still 18.4 decibels to go before this setup starts to clip. So the volume on the speaker is actually maxed out, but the output volume on my computer is set to about 50%, right? Because otherwise it won't make sense for this to sound off, at a speaker of this size going at 110, 120 decibels is not possible. But because we are close micing it, it is going to be very close, and therefore we actually set the volume a little bit lower. Okay, I am going to smooth it out a little bit so that you can see it much clearer. Okay, so this is the frequency response for, let me name it here. This is the Sony. Okay, the rate curve representing the Sony. So this part here, let's see, where is this at? 130 hertz or so, and it peaks out. So this is the base response at 130 hertz. Down from there, it's just going down all the way here. So to be honest, if this guy puts out 40 hertz, I'll be very, very surprised. You can probably hear some sound, but not meaningful. So let's see at 50 hertz, where is it going to be? 50 hertz is about 86 decibels or thereabout. All right. So what you notice that it starts dipping. This is the human voice frequency between 200-300 hertz all the way to even 1 kilohertz for the female higher range voices. Then it goes in a wave this way. It peaks again at about 5 kilohertz, which thereafter it starts going down all the way down to 20,000 hertz. Now this is not looking very hopeful. It does mean that the speaker is not going to sound as smooth in the treble. It's probably quite recessed. It probably comes across like a singer singing into a towel, and you can't really hear the ambient sounds that is lent by the response in the higher frequency, the treble range. So this looks very much rolled off, and on the lower end, from about 100 hertz downwards, it starts tailing off this way. So this is a Sony, and right away, we will test the Blitzwolf AS2. Okay, again, same thing. I'm going to plug it in using the auxiliary input. Okay, the orientation is horizontal. The volume has been maxed out, okay, on this as well. Remember, the bass driver is firing upwards, and the two drivers are firing forward this way. Bass radiators, passive ones, are firing out by the side. Okay, so let me do a just over my hand span. It's about 8.5 inches. Okay, let's start the measurement. It will come out in a different color, but otherwise the whole setup should be consistently the same. Okay, same 20 to 20 kilohertz. Start measuring. That sounded a little bit louder. Let me just smooth it out so that you can take a look. Oh, before that, let's name it so it's easier to reference. Blitzwolf. Okay, blue for the Blitzwolf. Smooth out the frequency. Okay, so this is how it looks like. That is interesting. Now, you will see that actually in the response range from 100, no, even from the 70 hertz all the way up to 300 hertz, the Blitzwolf is actually putting out less, but at a slightly lower frequency, it is putting out more. It does sound louder overall, and in the speech frequency range, about 300 all the way to, this is about 800 hertz, the Blitzwolf is actually doing pretty okay. So if you look at this frequency range here, the Blitzwolf looks a little bit flatter. But what is very, very interesting is that from 1.5, 1.4 kilohertz onwards, all the way up to the 20,000 kilohertz range, the Blitzwolf is actually putting out a lot more sound, a lot more power. Now, this is rated at a 5 watts driver times 2 here and a 30 watts bass driver here. So technically, the bass driver is the one that is going to be powering all the bass. It doesn't come across as it being much louder, maybe marginally for the lower frequency, but my God, it simply means that all the power is reserved, all the headroom is reserved for the frequency from 1.4 kilohertz all the way up to 20,000 hertz, beg your pardon. So this range here, all right, simply indicates that the Blitzwolf is going to be capable of putting out a lot more music, a lot more sound. So now you have your answer, right? If you look at this Blitzwolf, and this is a $50 or thereabout, all these Chinese speakers, all the brands that are under Xiaomi, Redmi, Blitzwolf, so many others, right? The price fluctuation is actually pretty high. So I can never put a sensing of, what kind of price you can get this at. If I can find something which is great value for you, if I get an affiliate link again from Banggood, I'll be sure to leave it in the video description below so that you can snag this for a good price. And, if anything, I can make a small fee out of the affiliate link. But otherwise, if you ask me right now to compare, I would say that the Sony is a very well-made product, very hefty, I think slightly heavier than the Blitzwolf. But if you look at this Blitzwolf with USB charging, with a SD card slot, with an auxiliary in, with all the buttons here, Bluetooth compatibility, as well as a bass radiator, then I think this represents pretty good value. So if you're interested in something that you can bring around, pop it in your backpack, and something that is quite sturdy, this looks actually pretty well made. Something that you can connect a 3.5mm output to, link up an MP3 player, or play songs via your phone through Bluetooth, then this is a pretty decent speaker to get. In fact, the sound is actually quite good for music. Add on top of that the AD2P profile for phone calls, and you've got yourself a mobile unit to take your conference call. And the sound quality for conference call is not too shabby either. Although when I did try it out, the opposite party did mention that I was sounding a little bit far away. So as long as you're willing to put these kind of speakers pretty close to where you are talking, maybe not more than an arm's length away, then it will serve well as a conference call speaker, and you'll be able to take your calls quite comfortably without having to wear the headset or the earpiece the whole day and start hurting your ears. So a lot of us are working remotely right now. This kind of solution is probably something that you want to consider. But in that particular case, do remember that you should actually connect via Bluetooth, because the auxiliary port for the Blitzwolf AS2 is not going to carry your mic signal, mic channel. So no mic, no go for that if you're going to be using it as a conference call device. So otherwise, that's all I have to say about the Blitzwolf AS2. Any links down below will carry an affiliate fee. You don't pay any more, although I do get a very tiny small commission from those links that Banggood has provided. Now, peace out. I'll see you in my next video.